cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
All right. Christmas has come early for us. It's a huge weekend in college football, and we're here at the View from C-Deck. Me, Just Matt, the man here, Dyerwolf, ready to rock and roll with some gambling picks. And we've been hot this year. Both of us are 10-5, so we're beating Vegas' ass for a little bit. But Haas, he needed a week off in Cancun to ease his beatdowns he's been taking. He's only 7-8. So all the picks this week are good picks. You can follow them. 60%. You're going to at least go 3-2. But we're going to start out with the Buckeyes since we're in a Ohio State podcast. And it's also the game of the week, so it works out well. 3-point favorites on the road in Old Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana. Casey, what are you thinking for Saturday night?
Well, in our earlier podcast, I said 24-21, which would be picking the push, but that's weak sauce.
That is weak sauce.
The
Get
more
that shit out of here.
I mean, they're going to try to. I think they're going to, not because they're scared, but because it's a strategy that works. They're going to use kind of that Indiana Youngstown State strategy. They're going to milk that clock, extend drives. I do think we're going to do the whole bend don't break that we've been doing, and I don't know if they score a whole lot of touchdowns. We haven't given up a whole lot of big plays, but they have had a whole lot of big plays. So that's going to be the key, in my opinion, limiting those. If we can hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns, I think we could whoop them pretty good. Like I could see them only scoring one touchdown and like 3 field goals. And if that's the case, we might win by 3 scores. But if those field goals are actually touchdowns, then who knows? Hey,
guest star. We have a guest star. Man, that cuteness just threw me off. But
yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite of you right now because I'm thinking that with Hartman and their running game, and our D, I mean, I don't know if they can run the ball real effective against us, but it could be effective enough to get first downs, the Michigan man way, and then just body blows. Because then the quarterback, Sam Hartman, I think he can beat us in the short passing game. You know, Youngstown State, even though it didn't last forever because they got impatient mainly, they showed that it can be done against us, though. Especially if you actually spread us out and get Sonny Styles off the field and put in Jordan Hancock. That part worries me. But the rest of our I think this is the game where we know if the DBs are actually fixed or not. Because if we're going to win, I don't think we're going to get to Hartman much. Their line's good, and we haven't shown that we can consistently pass rush without blitzing the house. And I don't think we want to do that in this big game. So if we can be sticky, though, we can get home maybe, or at least force incompletions, like keep them playing poorly as they can. This is going to be on Burke, and it's going to be on Igbinson, and mainly our safeties. You know, I don't even know who their tight end now, but Notre Dame's always got good tight ends. Somebody's going to have to guard him. It's probably going to be Sonny. If they had the tight end in the game, he'll be in the game. And if he can show what he showed against Brock Bowers, even though he was sick against us in the Peach Bowl last year, we can go ahead and hold them in check. Now, can our offense hit the big plays against a really good secondary and they didn't play great against Central Michigan last week, but they had a lot of guys out with injuries. 2 of their starting linebackers were out, I think, and they're back for this game, Notre Dame's. So I would expect tough sledding in the running game just because our line, I don't think, just because we ran all over one of the worst run defenses in the country, I don't think we're necessarily going to do it against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. What I touched on in the last one is also just our best players are better than their best players. And if we can get the ball in Marv and Ibuka's hands, and even Travion and Stover's been killing it too.
Ball security, baby.
Yeah. The turnovers, those are huge. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, they always are. But, yeah, I mean, I think the under hits pretty easily.
With you there.
I think, it's going to be one of those grinded out games. I can see us only scoring 20, not breaking 30 for sure, and then they might not even break 20. It'll be interesting, but I'm very confident the under's going to hit. I'd bet on if I had to, I'd pick us to cover that 3 points. That hasn't moved, has it? Is it still 3?
It was started at 3.5, I believe, but it was like 10 before the season. I had somebody on one of my boards say it was this, what we call a ballsy line. I was like, what? That he thought they should be like pick them maybe. And I was like, no, we were like 10-point favorites before the season starts. Like, them moving this much is already huge.
Yeah. I was expecting like 4.5.
Yeah, I'll go ballsy though and do the only time it worked out for me last year. The only time I did it was TCU and Baylor, where I was like, I'll take the underdog with the low points, but we still win. So I'm going to say 24-23 Buckeyes, but I'll take Indy +3. But I'm with you on the under big time. Keeping the eye on our rival though, going to the noon slate for the weekend, and a huge weekend it is. But this one's not really that big. But they're both undefeated. Michigan versus Rutgers. We both picked this game. I picked Michigan to cover. Last year they covered pretty easily, although it was a good game in the first half. They actually were trailing at halftime and then outscored Rutgers 38-0 in the second half. I think their crappy performance last week and Harbaugh coming back will galvanize them, and we'll see a complete performance out of them. I thought about doing what you did with the under because I think their defense does hold Rutgers in check. But Rutgers actually, they've blown out everybody they played this year, won by at least 3 scores. Not that it's the best competition, but it's against competition.
I actually, I think you probably misread it. I put over, unless I missed it.
Babe.
Yes.
Oh, you went over. Okay.
Yes, over. And my philosophy is twofold, or maybe 3, but it's partially because of a trend where the under was hitting like crazy, and you even said like Vegas they'll correct it, and I kept on Iowa. And then that bit me in the ass last week, and they hit the over easily. Michigan's hit 3 unders in a row. This is a really low number. I think it was 44.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Rutgers is undefeated against trash, but Virginia Tech, they suck, but still, they've been averaging 32 points, I think, something like that. Now it's going up against maybe the best defense in the country, but the other end of it is, like you said, they looked like they probably played their worst game of the season last week. They're going to come out guns a-blazing. I could see them scoring 45 themselves. So I felt pretty good about that over.
Yeah. And actually, I'm with you. I think the over is the way to go on that. And you're right. You had it over.
Yeah.
Officially updated in my ledger here for us. Another noon game. Another Ohio-related game, the Bearcats, big noon, hosting Oklahoma in a Big 12 showdown for the one and only time. Oklahoma has been rolling people so far this year. Now they struggle with SMU a little bit, which is why this line's only 14.5, I think. But UC has beaten crap this year. Pitt is crap. Like that's who they've been, and they lost to Miami, Ohio last week in overtime. Maybe it's almost like a ballsy pick line, except for the 28-11 win against SMU makes it seem not so. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with Oklahoma. I think UC's offense is not good, and Oklahoma's got enough firepower that they'll cover that 14.5 line.
I honestly just must have looked over that game because it's not one of the bigger ones. I had 4 games picked, and then I couldn't decide on my 5th, and I went straight Big Ten for one of them. But yeah, that I like that one a lot because you're right. Oklahoma's been throttling people, but that does almost seem too good to be true.
Yeah. Well, speaking of too good to be true, the Florida State line at Clemson, only 2.5-point favorites. Now, they looked like crap in the second half against BC and let them almost come back and win the damn game had they not committed 18 penalties. But Jeff Hafley, what's going on over there? How about you stop being the coach there and come back to Ohio State? 2.5 points, though, not much. Over under 55. So they're thinking low scoring, probably because Clemson's defense and pace. But, I don't see how you don't take Florida State. If you think they're going to win the game, 2.5's nothing.
Exactly. Clemson hasn't looked good all year in any single game. Florida State looked dominant before last week. Maybe that was just a hiccup, them looking ahead, too. Because them getting past Clemson, their only real threat after that's North Carolina. So maybe that's part of it, too. Just the blue blood, just the Clemson name is giving them notoriety. But I'm with you. I saw that 2.5. I'm like, is this right? Like, I feel like they should be 10-point favorites. But I took that. That was like the first one right away. Boom. Oh, like, for sure.
I was going to same thing, except for you picked it, and I didn't want to pick all the same games as you. But it's like ballsy pick, but it's explainable because of last week is the only thing. All right, moving to 3:30, and what this maybe probably going to be the highest rated game of the day, just because, well, not Ohio State Notre Dame will be, but Coach Prime just brings in the numbers. 9 million people watching that freaking 10 o'clock game the other night. But he's heading to Oregon, and it's a 21-point line over America's darlings. Vegas is begging you to take Colorado right now.
Right.
Oregon, one of my picks all day. They're going to smash them. They're a really good offense. Colorado is a bad defense overall, and their offense sputtered a little bit enough last week that I think it's too much. Oregon's going to score almost every possession, and Colorado's not going to be able to keep up, and drops this one over-under of 70.5. Ooh, doggy.
Yeah, you saying they're going to score every possession and Colorado not quite keeping up. I wanted to bet the over so bad on this one, and I like wrote it down before I even looked. Like it was going to be one of my picks, and I saw how big that number was, and I was like, start doing the math. Like, well, they could win. Basically, Oregon has to score 50 for that to hit almost. So I stayed away from it, but I'm with you. I think they come down to earth in a big way. I don't know how good Oregon is. I don't know if they're like a playoff team necessarily, but Colorado's just smoke and mirrors.
Fun stat of the day: Oregon 81-7 winners against Portland State earlier this year. Portland State just beat somebody like 84-0, and now has even though they're 1-2 with a 74-point loss, has a positive plus minus on the year. All right, now another one. Now this game, I'm staying far away from because I think anything could happen, and it wouldn't shock me. Ole Miss going to face a Bama team licking its wounds still right now from that Texas loss, because they were trash last week against South Florida. Luckily, South Florida's even trashier. I assume, J.M. Miller is back in the starting position after Tyler Buckner comes in and just stinks up the joint in Raymond James Stadium. Ole Miss getting 7, over under 55.5. I honestly have no idea what to think about this game. Ole Miss has looked pretty good this year, though, so giving me 7 seems nice, and the public slightly in that at minus 112.
Yep, the betting just history in me is just like never bet against Bama, but this isn't the same old Bama. So I almost put Ole Miss as one of my 5. It was 7.5 yesterday.
Yeah, that hook would have been nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I saw it was 6. I think it's 6.5 now, and I'm like, that's a big point. So I stayed away. But
yeah, it's funny because in that Texas, like them benching Milroe, and I watched that Texas game. He wasn't great at all. Don't get me wrong, but they had way bigger problems than him going on, especially that offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another 3:30 game, another ranked matchup. UCLA traveling up in the mountains, up in Provo to play Utah. Gonna be tough. I mean, these Pac-12 games are about to just be bloodbaths. People are going to be. So, I mean, I think next week Utah plays Oregon. No, Utah plays Oregon State, and Colorado's going to play USC. Like, these teams are playing back-to-back weeks against tough teams. But Utah giving away 4.5 against UCLA. I still like them, though. I think one, they're really tough to beat at Utah, and they're just a tough grinded out team. But UCLA's freshman quarterback, who I wanted to go to Ohio State, but he didn't want to. But he left the state of Michigan, didn't go there. He has been shredding, but it's on the road, tough opponent for a freshman. I'll take Utah.
Yeah, I'd pick the home team with a freshman coming in. It's a low spread. It's not that low, but I mean it'll probably be a pretty close game. But I do like Utah a lot this year. I'd go with them.
Yeah, not one of my picks, but it should be a great game. But going to get overshadowed by the other games at 3:30. One more 3:31 that you picked because you had to throw one turd game in here, like you always do. Not real totally turd game though, but Maryland at a Michigan State team that just got freaking taken behind the woodshed by Washington, and it's only a 7.5-point line at Michigan State. Maryland has been pretty bad at Michigan State historically here since they joined the Big Ten. So while it seems like a ballsy pick line, maybe not, but I think it is a ballsy pick line, which means I'm taking Michigan State.
Yeah, it did. It was not quite like the Florida, not as bad as that, but it was just like, they looked like absolute trash. Maryland's probably a borderline ranked team. They will be, I think, if they win this game. Got a good quarterback. The fact that it is at Michigan State hurts me a little bit, but they're just reeling right now. I see them winning by double digits.
Yeah, seems like they should, but things like whenever Maryland should be doing something, they aren't. They should go 9-3 this year. They should lose to the Big Three and beat everybody else on their schedule easily.
Yep.
7:00 though. We're moving down to the night slate, and one of my picks last week that failed me, Oregon State, picking in their game, but not them this week. Oregon State traveling to Pullman to play Washington State in the Pac-2 championship, baby. The only two teams going to be left standing when this Pac-12 just falls apart next year. Who knows what the hell they're going to end up in the Mountain West. I about guarantee it one way or another. But I'm taking the under after DJ Uiagalelei, or how the hell you say his name. He doesn't deserve to be pronounced right anymore after last week's shitty performance that cost me them not covering the spread. Their defense is legit, though. Washington State's defense is pretty decent. The over-under is 58.5, which doesn't seem like crazy high, but to me it's crazy high. Their last two meetings, last year's meeting, it was only 34 combined points between these two, and I don't see a lot of huge upgrades offensively for either. So I'm thinking we stay under, but and I'd probably take Oregon State too to cover the 3.
I don't know about that one. Seeing what they did to Wisconsin, I'd probably go with them, Washington State. But then again, Wisconsin's got that new coach, and they just we didn't know what to expect from them. I still don't really know how good they are, how good Wisconsin is. So maybe that win isn't that great, but just because of that win, I think I'd go with Washington State.
All right. And maybe finally, I can't remember if I have another game on here, but we'll see how it goes. The other big Big Ten game. Oh no, the other big Big Ten game.
Yeah.
The night's same time as our game though, so nobody's going to care about it. Iowa traveling to Happy Valley for the whiteout, and getting 14.5 right now. That is a begging to be bet online too. With historically Iowa keeps games close because their defense. And to get that extra half-point hook, I didn't fall for it last week, and Penn State took me to victory. I'm not falling for it this week. Iowa's offense in a whiteout against that defense. Are you kidding me? Get the hell out of here. Penn State covers easy.
They're an offensive powerhouse, man.
Yeah.
34 points last week or something like that.
41, I think.
40. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 41, I think. 41-10, I think that one.
Completely destroyed my under pick, so that was one of my picks. I had Iowa. They're in no way, shape, or form an offensive powerhouse. Don't believe me on that one. But I think they're going to keep it close. I could see it being. I don't know if the under might have been a smarter pick. I didn't even look at what that number was.
Over under is only 40.
Oh my God, yeah, I wouldn't touch that. It's too low.
It's too low.
But I could see this game being like 21-10, maybe something like that. That's kind of the game I'm thinking it's going to be. Like a fourth quarter, they're only up 7 or something like that, and then they kick a field goal to make it 2 possessions. I could see that's kind of how I see this game going. So I went with Iowa getting that extra half-point cushion.
I feel like you could be right because Aller didn't look great last week under tougher circumstances. Finally, like on the road, this is at home. But I just think Iowa's offense is going to do jack and shit in this game. But I wouldn't be surprised, like our game last year with deep defensive scores for Penn State. Maybe they forced 5 turnovers against Illinois last week, And if I would go super, I mean, I was down their top 2 running backs as well. So they can't go super conservative and just run it all the time, or they're not going to score. Period. Like they're just going to score 0 points. So I don't think they're holding Penn State under 14.
No.
If they don't move the ball at all. All right. One more game I wanted to highlight, just because I almost picked this game, but it was a weird line. Washington, who right now is like the number 1 team in every computer type poll, because they've just been straight thrashing people, hosting Cal, and only giving up 21. Now, last week I thought it was stupid that they only get easy win for me and Jason, only giving up 16 against Michigan State, and it's 41-0 going into the fourth quarter. I don't see how they don't do this to Cal as well. I mean, Cal's more talented than they have been, but this makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you would
but
go.
It could be just that Vegas is wrong about this team, like they were with TCU all last year.
And I asked you in the last podcast, or it might have been after, like, who could you easily say is the best team right now? Every team seems like they have their flaws, but Washington is one that's just like they have just looked good the whole time. Like they haven't really played a bad game. They haven't even
thrown for 500 yards a game.
They haven't looked bad for a half, really. Like,
yeah,
every single team can't. Nobody else can say that. So, yeah, I'd go with Washington, but I don't know. Just the way you're right. So it's kind of the ballsy range, I guess, in a way. Like I almost would want to bet the opposite because it seems so obvious.
Right. Me too. I'm just thinking it's just that they were off last week about it so bad, in my opinion, that I think they're just off. Something's off about their model on Washington. They'll come around, though, eventually.
The freaking FPI of all things has us as number 1.
FPI is the dumbest thing ever because it has recruiting rankings in the actual thing. Like ESPN's recruiting rankings, which are notoriously the worst recruiting rankings because they lean so heavily towards the South. And like, I don't know how that can be part of your actual ratings of a team, though. Like, that means nothing.
It. I mean, how many 5-stars fizzle out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many 5-stars are on our roster right now that aren't really producing?
It's like people have done research. It's like a 50% hit rate on 5-stars. I mean, that's like the highest hit rate. So
yeah, they suck. FBI sucks.
FBI sucks. Okay. Your 4 teams. Has anything changed from last week going in for the playoff? I don't think mine has, although Georgia scared me a little bit more. That maybe they aren't quite what they were, but their schedule's still just so freaking cake. The SEC East, with Tennessee looking the way they're looking, is dog shit.
The SEC as a whole seems like.
Yeah. Oh, they're under 500 against P5 teams this year.
Yeah. I stayed with my Buckeyes homer pick, so of course I'm still going to stay with them because they look better than they have all year last week. Obviously, I'm going to stay with Georgia because the rest of the SEC does look so damn weak, especially the East. And now I can't think. I know I had Texas and
Florida State.
Yep, I'm keeping that because the Pac-12 is so packed. I think we'll know a lot more after this weekend for sure. Things might switch up a little bit, but really until like Washington, Oregon, USC all play each other, that we won't really know if it's even possible for a playoff team to come out of Pac-12.
Right. If a one-loss team makes it, though, it comes out, they're making it.
They're sure. It could be the first 2-loss team ever.
Yeah, they could easily get 2 teams in. The more I think about it, like I think it's borderline impossible for the Big Ten to do it this year, like they did last year. So I have the same teams with you, except for I have Penn State in. You know, I've been riding them all off season through this year. I don't see any reason not to yet. So I have them, but same as you other than that, Texas, Georgia, Florida State. It's just the schedules just line up. I mean, Oklahoma and Texas, they're going to probably play twice because they seem like by far the 2 best teams in the Big 12, which just sucks for the Big 12 since they're leaving. And they're back like that. So they're probably going to play twice. So whoever wins that second meeting is really the one that matters. But quick recap, I have Oklahoma minus 14.5 Scum minus 24, Penn State minus 14.5, Oregon minus 21. I'm all favorites, so it's going to blow up in my face. And I have the under on the Oregon State game. You have Ohio State under in their game. You have Scum over in their game. You have the Iowa plus 14.5, Florida State minus 2.5, Maryland minus 7.5. Thank you for watching us. Like, subscribe, comment. Our videos have been doing pretty well lately, so let's keep that rolling. And we will talk to you guys later.
Hey guys! Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.